I believe that the things we want most, happiness, fulfillment, meaning, a sense of aliveness, like wanting to get out of bed in the morning, you can't purchase them. Otherwise, everyone who was a celebrity would be happy. And you also can't obtain them directly. I believe that these things we want most come to us as a byproduct of having the courage to follow our biggest dreams.
Kill Complacency, a podcast that inspires growth and intentionality and helps you overcome your greatest obstacles.
Hey, this podcast is with Gregory Benedikt. I know him from LinkedIn. Super cool guy, super inspiring. He's a life coach and he really helps people find their purpose and meaning in life. I was really encouraged in talking to Gregory. So my guest today is Gregory Benedikt, and I know him from LinkedIn. Great place to meet people and be inspired. And what I know about Gregory, what I know about you is that you are a life coach, a writer, a podcaster. But I also know that you didn't always do that. So could you kind of give us the backstory and how you found your purpose in life, figured out how you got to where you are today?
Absolutely, Marty. I would love to share that story. Thanks so much for having me on. I need to ask you though, do you want the 1 hour version, the 10-hour version, the 10-second version?
Give me like a 3 minute.
Okay, 3 minutes on the clock. So you are correct. I am a life coach, a leadership coach. I have my own podcast called the Dare to Dream podcast. I love to write, and it was not always this way. I used to think that my dream, I'm really big on dreams. You'll hear me talk about dreams a lot. I used to think that my dream was working in finance. I studied finance undergrad. I loved it. It was challenging. It was analytical. It could make me happy, could bring me money, all the things that I wanted. But once I got there, I quickly realized that it was not for me. I had my dream job working in private equity down in San Diego. And I started feeling incredibly uninspired and unfulfilled. I honestly felt like my life had no purpose. I was just sitting behind a computer screen all day, crunching numbers, living in Microsoft Excel, financial modeling. And I loved people. I loved challenges. I loved getting to know what other people were passionate about. And for 2 years, I was stuck. I was stuck in that place that so many of us are. I call it the mediocrity trap, where things are bad, but they're not that bad. Oh, at least I have a job. I should be grateful. I'm making good money. Who am I to complain? But I was just trying to fill this empty hole inside of me with fancy dress pants from Lululemon and health supplements from Amazon and all the things. And then finally, it got to the point where I realized that if I stayed, my soul was going to die. It was quickly evaporating. And if I stayed, I would just empty out. I would just blink, wake up in 30 years, be working in finance, hate myself, hate my life, probably hate my family. And I would just be so miserable. So I'm a very positive person, but it was actually the negativity and realizing that if I didn't make a change my whole life, I was going to have major regrets. So I made a hard left turn. I quit my job in finance without knowing what I wanted to do next. And the short version is I started a nonprofit with a stranger I met on the internet. This was a coaching-based nonprofit. It was a beautiful chapter that led me to coaching. I stepped away from the nonprofit after about 1.5 years because I realized that coaching was what I was here to do. And that's what I do today. I am here to help people achieve their biggest dreams and get the things that money can't buy. That's kind of my new slogan on LinkedIn, because I believe that the things we want most, happiness, fulfillment, meaning, a sense of aliveness, like wanting to get out of bed in the morning, you can't purchase them. Otherwise, everyone who was a celebrity would be happy. And you also can't obtain them directly. I believe that these things we want most come to us as a byproduct of having the courage to follow our biggest dreams.
That's good. Let me unpack that a little bit. So you went to college to be a finance guy? I mean,
Yes.
And you got a job right out of college, your dream job. Was it your dream job?
It was not my dream job. I had a hilarious stint as an internal auditor. So I did this internship. They sold it to me as sexy financial consulting. And I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. And then I start full time and they're like, just kidding, it's internal audit. And everyone you work with is going to hate you because you're trying to tell them how to do their job correctly. And you are 22 and know nothing. So I did that for 1 year. and then was like, what the heck am I doing? I studied finance. Let me take the CFA. It's this big financial test. Let me take that, pass that, so I can kind of leverage that experience to jump into more traditional finance. And
Mm,
that's when I moved down to San Diego and I started working down here. And
okay.
then that was another moment where I was like, crap, this isn't it. This still isn't it. And the transition from internal audit to finance was a little easier for my parents because I was like, oh, I'm quitting my job, but I'm going to go into finance, this thing I studied. And then the second time it was, I'm quitting my job and I have no idea what I'm going to do next.
Hmm. Are you like an only child?
I am not. I have
Okay.
an older sister. She's 2 years older. And it's been really funny because she's super creative. She was the artist, the creative, kind of go with the flow.
Hmm.
I was a little more intense, analytical, left-brained.
Analytical. Yeah.
And she has become a super successful business owner with graphic and web design. And it, to me, seems like it all fell into place pretty easily.
Hmm.
Whereas I'm over here having 2 existential life crises before the age of 25 and just being like, what am I doing with my life?
So to jump off this a little bit, I listened to the majority of your podcast with Abby Gooch. That's how you say her
Yes.
name.
Yes.
Don't you think your sister followed her intuition?
100%.
And
My
that's just,
sister,
yeah.
my sister
And
followed her intuition, and I think I was over here trying to follow logic and rationale. And honestly, I mean, we can talk a lot about this. I think that's where I started going wrong. And I don't blame myself because every person coming out of college, there aren't that many options. It's like, oh, you have to get a job, and
Mhm.
you have to get a job that's probably within your major of what you studied at college and all the things.
Maybe, Gregory, I wasn't planning on doing this, but let's talk about it for a little bit because I think a lot of kids go to college not knowing what they want to do, and they kind of go because they're supposed to find themselves. Parents don't. I have college age kids. Parents don't know what to do with their kids, and so they send them there, hoping that they'll figure it out. But then they get out, and maybe they switch majors 3 times, but then they get out and they're kind of where you are, like, great, real world experience. What do I need to do? So how do we incorporate what you stand for as far as life coaching and finding out life's meaning without it having to be money to a college age student? Pretend I'm a college age student. Talk to me. If we
Yeah.
can role play.
First thing I would say is good luck because college grossly and inadequately prepares you for real life. And the most important questions to ask yourself now, whether you're 55, 75, or 25 or
Mhm.
15, is what do you feel called to do intuitively? And for me, I had no idea. And
Mhm.
as you saw on the episode with Abby, I'm still working on
Mhm.
tapping into my intuition, but I really think that we all have this inner voice, this inner guidance, this intuition that guides us towards some things and prevents us from going into others. And I think the more we listen to that inner guidance and live in alignment with that, the more we end up where we're supposed to be. And I am not the first person to talk about this. Viktor
Mhm.
Frankl called it your conscience.
Mhm.
And his advice to college students, they would ask him, how do I be successful? How do I be happy? He said, do not focus on being successful or happy. Instead, follow, he said, listen to what your conscience commands you to do. Do that and everything will fall into place. So start, I
Your
mean, I wish,
intuition again, right?
exactly. It's your intuition. And I want to do work with college students eventually. I have a couple friends who are counselors and coaches for college students because just having the conversation around what do you like? What are you good at?
Mhm.
What do you think you can get paid for? What do you think the world needs? I'm bringing in some pieces of a Japanese concept called ikigai. But
Mhm.
just simply having someone ask, hey, what do you want to do? Instead of what is going to make you the most money? What's going to make your parents proud? Just starting to have those conversations with college age students would be so helpful.
Mhm.
And then again, it's in any way possible trying to create the condition where they can do what they're called to do instead of what's going to be most safe and secure and comfortable. And Marty, I would love to ask you because you have college age students. I assume, let me not make an assumption. Well, I'm going to make an assumption first.
Yeah.
I assume that right now you prioritize the safety and security of your children over their happiness?
Over the years, I have been coached by countless mentors, and now I want to offer that to you as well. How? By Marty Hofmann's Life Coaching. This will be a 6-week program in which I will guarantee you will develop a more growth mindset. We will set goals and learn about the importance of the processes and habits behind those goals. I will also help you see your story differently as things happening for you, not to you. We will also be discussing your future self and give you clarity on who that is and what it looks like. For more information, please follow the link below or hop on martyhoffman.com and follow the coaching link. Well, yes, but I'm really big on letting them fail, if that makes sense. So I'm okay with them being unhappy for a season if it means that they're going to learn from it. So
Yeah.
I feel like I'm on both sides of that coin, if that makes sense.
And it does make a lot of sense. I mean, you have a podcast, we're talking, so I think you're more in this realm than
For sure.
maybe my parents are or other parents. But I think that's a really big takeaway that I learned on my journey thus far, is that it makes total sense why, and I'm going to try my hardest not to fall into it when I'm a parent, but you want them to be safe and secure. And like, that's the most important thing. Whereas, like you said, you need them to fail. We learn so much through failure. We learn through smashing into the wall, having to pick ourselves back up and put ourselves back together. And so it's finding that balance between, yes, you want the best for them, but sometimes the best for them might look like the worst for them in the short term.
Yeah, it is interesting because I think too, kids don't, and I call them kids because that's how they feel to me. Kids don't know themselves, and we think we'll send them to college and they'll find themselves. But I don't know that college necessarily does that. It maybe muddies the water more, because a lot of times I feel like kids go to college to please mom and dad, and they'll even do a specific degree because dad's an engineer, so I'll be an engineer. And if they would have somebody like you sit down and coach them and ask those hard questions, maybe they'd find out they want to be a musician or an artist. But they're too apt to please, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. And I think two things we need to bring in here. One is research that changed my life. It's research on the top regrets of the dying. There's this woman.
Yeah, I'm reading that book right now.
Oh, it's fantastic. And just, the book is great, but just knowing that not only do most people have end of life regret, but that they're the same 5. And that the number one regret is, I wish I would have had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expect of me. That was the moment, I left this out of my story, but that was the moment where the universe reached out and punched me in the face and was like, what are you doing with your life? You are on the fast track to having the number one regret of the dying because you're working a job you hate. You're still partying just because your friends want you to. And you aren't having the courage to follow this dream that seems to have come out of nowhere of wanting to be a life coach. And so that piece is super important. I think anyone of any age needs to know about those regrets. The other ones are, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I had kept in touch with my friends. I wish I had the courage to truly express myself. So knowing those things is super important. And then back to the college piece. I went through my all 4 years of college wearing a mask. I was pretending to be someone I wasn't because I thought my friends wanted me to be someone else. And so I was trying to be cool, trying to fit in. And it wasn't until I graduated that I really mustered up the courage to take off the mask and be like, no, wait, I actually don't love finance. I'm actually obsessed with personal growth and podcasts and books and stoicism and all of these things that maybe in college were a little weird. But I think that we're making lots of progress. It seems like young people, like the generation below me, seem a little more in tune with their authenticity, and they're less afraid to be like, oh, I'm into this weird niche thing.
Yeah, it's definitely more celebrated now, and acceptable to be the weird guy or whatever, to do the unusual. So yeah.
And one quick note on that is that when I was wearing the mask, I wanted all of these things, and I wanted mentors. I wanted interesting friends. I wanted role models. I wanted to live an extraordinary life. And yet my life was super unextraordinary and mediocre. And then when I took the mask off, it's like a floodgate was opened and I started meeting the right people. I started getting the mentors. I started having these crazy experiences because that's going back to what I said about Viktor Frankl. I felt like I got into line with my inner voice and my intuition and was in alignment. And then you're just in the flow of things. You're just flowing through life instead of trudging upstream. And I have so many stories I could share, but it is truly magical. That's the word I use on purpose.
Yes.
Like there is magic in the universe when you say, this is what I want to do with my life. It's in line with who you are and you just go for it.
You know, another word that's used a lot of times in the self-help books is authenticity.
Yes.
And when we are truly authentic with, or intuition, whatever we want to use there, that is when things seem to gravitate to us and life gets easier because we're not bucking our own self. And we can buck the system, but we're true to ourselves at that point and we're authentic. And so, yeah, I guess circling back to the college thing, I guess maybe that's what we need to help young people see and realize is to be their authentic self rather than doing it for mom and dad or for themselves or for their friends. But what are you truly designed for and what's your purpose? So
totally. And just being open to exploring that. That was not even a concept or anything on the radar when I was in college. It was just, what's the job I can get that's going to make the most money, that's going to look the best on paper? And starting to think about those things, I think, is super helpful. And if you don't have something you're passionate about, because that was me, I was frustrated that I didn't have this lightning bolt moment where I was like, I've loved piano since the age of 4 and I'm supposed to be a pianist, or I'm supposed to do this. You can just start to explore by reading books and listening to podcasts. That's what I did. And then also, this just came from a podcast I did recently that's going to be released, I think, tomorrow. Surround yourself with people who are passionate about something, and that will start to rub off on you. And you might be like, oh, I'm actually interested in this too, or I'm going to go over here and do this instead.
Yeah, that's good. So our thesis of the podcast is to inspire people to live intentionally by handling hard better. So tell me, Gregory, how you confronted or dealt with being in the system. I'm just going to call it the system, being in this job that you're not enjoying, being in the rat race. How did you, obviously there was an internal battle you came to grips with, you quit one job, started another. How did you handle that specifically for our listeners out there who, and I know there's a lot of them, who feel the exact same way of, I'm in the rat race, I went to college for this job, I need the money, whatever. How do they fight that? How do they learn to handle hard better, I guess?
A lot of things come to mind. When I was in that period for me, I started reading and listening to everything. So books, podcasts, stoicism, like I mentioned, really helps me. But at some point you have to act. And that's kind of what I'll bring in is how I help people now. And what I really believe now is that the universe rewards bold action. And at some point, you just have to take some action. And it might not be the right action. It might be the wrong action, but you get things moving. And that is the fastest way to just shake things up and see what happens. Because I wanted I wanted the one book that was going to change my life. I wanted the secret formula. I wanted something to save me. Like it almost became religious at some point. I was like, please let me find the one thing that's going to save me. And no one's coming to save you. There's not one thing that's going to change your life. But if you get out of your comfort zone and start taking action, whether it's in the physical realm or it's challenging yourself intellectually or emotionally, it's like, get out of your comfort zone and that's where the magic will start to happen.
There's a lot we could talk about there because we hate leaving our comfort zone, don't we?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it's what we know. It's what's comfortable. Have you read the book Who Moved My Cheese?
No. I'm going to write that down.
Add that to your list. It's all about this. And it was It's Amazon's bestseller book of all time. It was a book that was really big in the 90s, early 2000s. But it's all about this. It's all about how we hate change. We like our comfort zone. And we expect our comfort zone to never change, right? We expect to have the retirement from the job, and we don't expect to get laid off and blah, 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 blah. But how do you coach people, Gregory, through that? How do you coach them through facing their comfort zone and pushing through?
So the thing that I've found most helpful is you need a framework, because that's how the human brain works. And there needs to be 3 steps because of the rule of threes. So I created 3 simple steps, and I do workshops. I'm hosting one this weekend that I'm doing where I take people through it. And it's also what we adhere to loosely if someone comes and works with me one-on-one for 6 months or a year. And I'll quickly outline the 3 steps, and then I'll talk about why they're helpful. Step number 1 is define your dream. I'm so big on dreams, and I've realized over the years that we need to actually define what the word dream means, because for some people, like yourself, I assume, it means the biggest goal that you're working toward, the thing that lights you up. But for other people, I've noticed that dream is like some aspirational pie in the sky thing. It's like, oh, I'd love to win the lottery someday, but I'm never going to buy a ticket. So I was like, okay, we need to get clear on what the word dream means. And the way I define it, there's a couple questions I ask, but it's, what's something you've always wanted to do, but you're too scared to take action on right now? What is something that you would know? What is something that you know you would regret not doing if you got to the end of your life and you're like, crap, I never did that? The third is kind of a mixture of the two. What is one thing you've been putting off until someday or one day? Because those don't exist. So get clear on what it is that you want to go after, because you need that big dream. Again, that's where the happiness, the meaning, the fulfillment, the aliveness come from.
Sure.
It's pursuing a goal much larger than yourself that really fires you up. So step 1 is define the dream. Step number 2, and this is kind of the piece that works so well that I've stumbled across. Step 2 is create the commitment, or create your commitment. And there's this fascinating psychological concept called a commitment device that anyone who's read Atomic Habits has heard of. But a commitment device is an action you can take in the present moment to lock in a desired future action. So let's say you want to run a marathon. A commitment device, a really simple one, would be sign up for the marathon today and tell all of your friends that you're going to run it.
If you want to wear a billboard of a message of kill complacency or live intentionally, then check out my merch store. It's www.mindsetshop.com. Mindset is with an X, so it's MINDXET, shop, SHOP.com, mindsetshop.com.
So you sign up, you lock yourself in, and then you tell everyone you're going to do it. So it increases the cost of bad behavior, which would be not running it. And there's so many different ways you can do this. A very personal commitment device for me was getting my life philosophy, which is live a story worth telling, tattooed on my forearm. It's right here. It's in little letters. It's facing me. And anytime that I'm too comfortable, that I don't want to do the hard thing, I just look at my arm and I'm like, I got to do it.
That's
I have
good.
to live a story worth telling. So you create a commitment device. It's super helpful to make it fun, outrageous, playful. Lock in your desired future action. And then step number 3 is take bold action. In the workshops I lead, we take bold action in real time together based on the commitment device we created around the dream you want to accomplish. So it's all linked together. And that's a very long way of saying that the best way to get out of your comfort zone, to start to have these amazing things happen to you, is just take bold action.
That's good. I'm curious, mostly because you're an analytical guy, and maybe you have this data, but is there like an age group that this gravitates more to, or not? And specifically, I'm 43 years old. I feel like for the last year, I've had this midlife crisis. That's what we call it, because it's a crisis to everyone else around. But I've been in this. I've been evaluating my life. I'm in the real estate space, but I'm kind of like, where does this end? Like, I can keep buying and buying and buying. And I'm honestly, Gregory, like, I'm excited about this conversation because I see myself moving into more of a coaching realm. And I have done that with meetups and coaching people, but maybe more focused on that. And I call it a midlife crisis. So I'm asking you, like, is there an age group? Like, are men drawn to this more? Is it college age? Is it all over the place that come to you for coaching?
Yeah, it's been all over the place. My oldest client right now is 74 years old.
That's
My
cool.
youngest client is 19. It's all over the place. And people really resonate with this idea of taking bold action and really that the universe rewards bold action. I actually just became I can say it now, a professional speaker because I'm getting paid for my first speaking thing. And my signature speech is that I've discovered this secret of the universe, that the universe rewards bold action. And in this speech, I tell people about how I met my girlfriend by walking up to her at a cafe filled with people. There was another man sitting at her table and a woman.
Really?
And I wrote my name and phone number on the back of a receipt and gave it to her. So I tell that story of 11 seconds of bold action brought me the best romantic relationship of my life. Then I tell the story of how I wanted to test this. Again, I am very analytical. I wanted to make sure this wasn't just a one-off thing. So I embarked on a 100-day challenge of taking bold action and talking to strangers for 100 days. And did things like knocking on strangers' doors and asking if they wanted to go for a walk with me. I knocked on a stranger's door and asked if I could jump in his swimming pool, and he said yes. And that
Have you read Rejection Proof?
Yes. So that was what it was.
Okay.
I read it twice. The first time I read it, I was so inspired and fired up. And then I did what sadly most people do. I put it back on the shelf and did nothing. And then the second time I read it, I was like, okay, I've been here before. I'm equally excited. I can't put it back on the shelf and do nothing. I'm going to try my own 100-day challenge. So it resonates with all, that was a very long answer to say, it resonates with all age groups. Like I've had literally pretty much every age come up to me after sharing this speech and sharing more about my coaching philosophy. It's also, I'm very excited because it's resonating with younger people, which I love because, again, Gen Z seems more open they seem more open and inclusive, but everyone's socially anxious and they don't want to meet people in the real world. And so I'm really excited that this idea of going up to people, just saying hi, like doing whatever is resonating because it hopefully gets people out of their comfort zone to get back to that human connection piece that I think we're missing.
You know, another one I read recently is Mark Victor Hansen's book, Ask, as far as bold action. He's the guy that wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Okay.
But all that book is story after story after story of people asking and taking the bold action and getting something, or failing to ask and getting nothing. And dude, it's like, to your point, it's so empowering when you go out and just do it to see what people will actually give you or whatnot. So I know you did a non-for-profit, you raised some money, and that was all part of it, right? You had to take some bold action to raise the funds for that. What was it? The high school coaching with the mentorship program. That was some bold action on your part, right?
It was. That was terrifying. Fundraising is its own terrifying adventure. That was before I had crystallized this whole concept and idea, but yes, that was absolutely bold action and it worked. And there's been multiple instances where I took bold action, was immediately rewarded. It seemed like the universe was like, great work. Thanks for getting out of your comfort zone. Here's a little treat. Here's a little surprise. And that happened over and over and over again. And that's what kind of led me on this journey to be like, okay, let's get analytical. Let's test it for 100 days. Let's see what happens.
Did you do it 100 consecutive days or just random like they did in the book?
I tried to do it 100 consecutive days, and then I realized that I am incredibly human. And on
Yeah.
day 66, I lost my why. I was like,
Oh,
it's easy now. I don't need to do this. Why am I doing this? I've learned everything I need to learn. And it was just resistance with a capital R getting in the way. And then I think I took a week and a half off. And then I was like, okay, let's go. Let's get back to this. I need to finish this. And this is part of the story. It's a better story if there's, every good story has to have conflict.
sure.
And I got back on the horse and I finished it. And it was very hard.
Just wanted to thank you guys for listening to the end. In closing, I just wanted to add that if this message resonates with you, if it aligns with your values, and something in it today triggered something, then you can also look me up on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. We are really trying to help people live more intentional lives, to kill the complacency with which they have subscribed to. I know there's many ways which I get sucked in all the time. So if this is beneficial, follow me there.